Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Gadigal people.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Amanda Bauer. It's Tuesday, February 14. In Squiz Kids Today, closing the gaps, a UFO hat trick, arresting Turkish builders, and not hugging cows for Valentine's Day. That's what's making news, kid style.
The lowdown.
Let's play a game of true or false. 1. There are places in Australia where kids aren't able to get clean, safe drinking water. True or false? Remember your answer. Number 2. 1 in 5 Indigenous kids in Australia lives in overcrowded housing. True or false? And number 3. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander kids are less likely to finish Year 12 than non-Indigenous kids, even though they're just as smart. They're also less likely to go to uni or get a job. I'm sorry to say that the answers are true, true, and true. That's why the Australian government announced yesterday it would be spending $425 million to try to close the gaps between the lives of Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. The money will provide safe water to remote and regional communities, build more housing in crowded communities, support school students, and more. The funding was announced on the 15th anniversary of former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd's apology to the stolen generations of Aboriginal people. People who, when they were little kids, were taken away from their parents to live in white communities and families. Imagine that, being taken away from your family, your house, your culture, and your language. The damage caused by the policy of removing kids is one of the reasons that those gaps exist today. I'll put a link to the apology in your episode notes, as well as other resources to better understand the gaps that exist in Australian society and what the government is doing to try to close them. Remember last week when Bryce told you about the Chinese balloon that was shot out of the sky by American fighter jets? Believe it or not, 3 more unidentified flying objects have been shot down over the past 3 days. So far, no one has been able to explain why a hat trick of UFOs appeared over North American airspace. Officials aren't saying yet what the objects were or whether they were also Chinese. Watch this space.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed back in Turkey and Syria, where rescue and clean-up efforts are continuing after last week's devastating earthquake. Thousands of multi-storey buildings collapsed like pancakes in the quake, and the death toll has now climbed above 33,000, which is horrible. The Turkish government has now started arresting or looking for more than 100 people in the building industry, whom they allege used illegal construction methods on some of the buildings that collapsed. The word allege is used when you're talking about what someone who's accused of a crime is said to have done, but it hasn't been proved yet. It can be hard hearing about people who've lost so much, and it's natural to want to help. I've included in your episode notes some links to charities that are working in Turkey and Syria, as well as some ideas for how kids can raise money themselves to donate.
Animal Kingdom.
It's Valentine's Day, which authorities in India have failed spectacularly to change to Cow Hug Day. Let me explain. Cows are sacred to the Hindu religion, and the majority of Indians are Hindus. I'll put a link in your episode notes to explain more about that. Last week, the Indian Animal Welfare Board said that instead of celebrating Valentine's Day, a holiday made popular by America, Indians should embrace their own cultural traditions on February 14 and give a cow a hug instead. Problem is, they didn't ask the cows first. Journalists trying to cuddle cows for news stories about the day discovered that the cows were not interested. And the whole thing quickly became a huge internet joke. Oh dear. If you're curious about the history of Valentine's Day, which involves goats, not cows, we released a shortcut yesterday on that very topic. Enjoy.
Sport time.
It was a high-scoring, high-excitement game that went down to the wire and Rihanna rocked the halftime show. But yesterday's American football Super Bowl disappointed many Australians because the Philadelphia Eagles lost and there were 2 Aussies playing for the Eagles. If the Birds had soared to victory, see what I did there, they would have been the first Australians to ever win a Super Bowl ring. In America, grand final winners get rings, not medals. Oh well, there's always next year.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What is the name of the religion in which cows are sacred objects? Yeah, that's right, it's Hinduism. Question number 2. What happened 15 years ago in Australia's Parliament? That's right, it was the apology to the stolen generation. And question number 3. In America, if you win at a grand final, you get a... That's right, you get a ring.
Shout outs.
It's February 14, Valentine's Day, and in America, National Cream-Filled Chocolate Day. You know, those chockies with strawberry cream, marshmallow cream, or another cream in the middle. Personally, and just in case you wanted to send me a belated Valentine, I prefer salted caramel. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Henry from Gilgandra, Oksana from Rockdale, Flynn from Cronulla, Austin from Southport, Hamish from Newmarket, George from Darwin, Sully from Clairvaux, Tri from Flagstaff Hill, and Sierra from Abbotsford. Classroom shout-outs today go to Class 3 CW and Miss Wise at North Ainslie Primary School, Class 3 4E and Miss McLeod at Abbotsford Public School, Room 13 with Miss Cox and Miss Bowers at Anzac Terrace Primary School in Bassendean, Classes 5 6DJ and 5 6H with Mr Jennings and Miss Haley at Portland North Primary School, and lastly the Year 4 students at Skeggs Darlinghurst. And don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you want a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au or fill out the form on our website. That's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.